Everyone. Hello, everyone. Just a very brief shout out. The guidelines of this session are so please stay muted and turn your video off. Any questions you have can be sent in the chat box below, and please use respectful language in this chat, guys. Welcome to Tauke Talks. This is a series of sharing sessions where small but mighty business owners share their motivation to start their own business and their journey throughout it all. So this sharing session is brought to you by RYSE, a program that equips young people with entrepreneurial skills and knowledge to start their own small business. RYSE is also supported by Citi Foundation. RYSE is able to showcase stories of small local businesses that are persevering and still chasing their dreams through Tauke Talks. So I'm very happy today to welcome our local entrepreneur, the guest of today. We have Edmond, the founder of Smolpotato. Oh, thank you so much for coming.
And the person you
Okay.
don't see, there's also the founder is Tasha, and she's sitting over there.
Oh, okay. Definitely do a
Maybe I'll
shout
turn
out.
the camera later.
Oh, okay.
Okay, she said no, don't turn the camera.
Okay then. Welcome to Talkie Talks. Thank you so much for being here. We are very honored to have you guys today. So before we start, let me just briefly tell about the agenda for today's session. I'll be welcoming Edmund and introducing Smolpotato. I'll also be having a very quick sharing session, the story behind starting his experience building Smolpotato, and we'll also be having a Q&A session wherein he'll will ask audiences questions, and the questions also in the chat box. So feel free to type your questions in the chat during the session, guys. And finally, the ending for Rise Online, we would we would be briefly sharing about the next Talkie Talk and share a little bit about Rise Online, which is a free online beginners course about entrepreneurship. So that's for that. So let's get started. Okay, for the first question, Edmund, can you briefly tell us about your business?
Smolpotato is a business. It's a neighbor help neighbor movement, where neighbors come to help each other. We started during the pandemic when we noticed that a lot of people were losing their jobs, a lot of families were suffering. So we created a platform where we tried to bring people together, communities together, so that they start buying and selling to one another, keeping money within the community, making sure they keep money in their pockets, and making sure that in these tough times during the pandemic, right? We all can come together so that we can get through it together. So you can buy, sell, look for really amazing cakes, home cooked food on Smolpotato.
Wow. And and what did inspire you to start Smolpotato?
We were so when the MCO happened, right, when the movement controls happened, it was pretty devastating actually, because we had quite a few contracts that were cancelled because Smolpotato came out in April, right during the MCO itself. But we were already running a business called Pew Pew, right? And Pew Pew is a creative agency that's focused on helping purpose-driven businesses to grow. So we're a consultancy, we're a marketing consultant, we're a branding consultant, but only with clients who want to make a difference to the world we live in. So we're very niche that way. So a lot of things were canceled. And so we went survival mode, right? So for a month plus, right, we would just focus on ourselves. How do we survive? And what happened was, right, there was just that feeling as time went by, right, that a feeling of unhappiness. Like, I'm so focused on myself that I started feeling, and me and my wife we were so focused on ourselves that we started feeling unhappy. And the question came, and the question was, what can we do to help other people survive and to thrive through this pandemic as well? Because that's our worry for ourselves. So now, how do we help other people do the same thing? And so just by that action alone, right, from escaping from coming out of thinking about our own problems and to start thinking about other people's problems that the idea for Smolpotato came about. So I wanted to help families that's affected by the pandemic to become micro entrepreneurs so that they would be able to start selling, having a micro business, selling to their neighbors, to their neighborhood. And so that will help them to survive and to thrive through this pandemic. Now, my wife has a different concern. Because when the pandemic happened, right, I don't know whether you noticed this. Do you guys order more take out food delivery? You know, you just can't cook that often, so you order in. And then you get this mountain of plastic containers, right? And so Tasha, my partner, wanted to solve that problem of plastic waste. And so somehow the ideas all came together. And here's the thing: you don't need single-use plastics if they're your neighbors. You walk over your own container, you pass the container, you get the food back, and you waste no plastic. So I wanted to help families, right? Tasha wanted to solve the plastic problem. And when these ideas came together, it became Smolpotato, right? It became a neighbor-help-neighbor movement that allowed people to support each other during the pandemic and to, you know, not use so much single-use plastics and to do something for the environment just by helping your neighbors. So yeah, so that's how the idea came about.
Wow, that's so altruistic. It has a very good deep motivational message behind it as well.
You know, I hear people say this a lot, like, oh, this is very noble, this is very altruistic. But here's the thing: even though yes, it sounds like that, the bigger thing is, right, that we weren't happy, you know. So here's the thing, and I think this is the absolute key to unhappiness and the cause of unhappiness, and it's that and that is by continuously only focusing on ourselves, right? If we're thinking about ourselves, if we're looking in the mirror all the time, there's just so much that, you know, we won't like life. You look in the mirror, you're too skinny, you're too fat, you're too pimply, you're too what. And it's the same thing, right? If you constantly just think about ourselves and you know, how much money we make, and to us that was the key to our own unhappiness. So doing this, right, was also an antidote to that. You know, we wanted to feel happy, and we felt real happiness when we were actually helping other people.
Oh wow, that is very great. So just to jump on that, what were the challenges that you first faced when you first started this business, and how did you overcome them?
Wow. Okay, so there's a lot of challenges. The good thing about, okay, so you hear of the so I did this. So Smolpotato is started between me and Tasha, my wife, right? And so here's the thing, right? When you get a partner in life, you'll notice something. Usually, you'll see in partners, right, that they're opposites, right? Not just boy girl. You'll see like she's very tidy and then he's very messy, or he's very detail oriented and she's like this fun living person, and they're just very opposite spectrum people. But that's beyond. But that happens because we subconsciously, right, look for people who complete us, right? So whatever weaknesses that we have as a person because of our personality, right, we unconsciously look for people who fill that gap, that hole, that weakness. And so your weakness is the other person's strength, and the other person's weakness is your strength. And so that somehow accidentally happened between me and Tasha. We're both very, very different people. So when we're not killing each other, then we work very well together because we complete each other. We fill up each other's weaknesses and we allow each other's strengths to shine. So you asked about the challenge in starting the business, right? I think the very lucky thing that we had was that, so Tasha's a designer, right? She makes things really beautiful. right? And along the years, she's somehow gotten the skills to be able to do WordPress. And so a Smolpotato is based on WordPress. And so she has those skills. On the other hand, I'm the writer, right? I write. You know, I'm an artist with words. And so, you know, when we put the two of us together, right, you know, we're able to create something that looks nice, sounds like nice, has a character to it. Yeah. So I'm glad to say the biggest challenge was that, and you know, we were able to get around that simply because we already over the years have gotten the skills, and we complemented each other along the way. Getting people on board wasn't actually that difficult, you know. Yeah, interestingly enough, I think because people could feel and understand that we had a mission, and they just came along.
Oh, you clearly hit the jackpot with your partner. That's very good to
I
hear.
did, I
So
did, I did.
yeah. So I want to ask you, what would you advise youngsters who want to like start their own business, right? How do you find, what's the secret of finding a partner or co-founder, and how do you have that balance with working well, give and take between you and your co-founder?
Wow. Okay, there's a lot of questions there. In that one. Um, okay, so the question is, how do you find a partner, right? For your business. Okay. This is super important, by the way, because I've lost companies before simply because, I've had business negotiations that, I mean, I was trying to start a school, but because me, the few of us, and the investors had different values, right? What happened was the negotiation went on for 8 months, and literally at the end of it, it was all gone. Um, and I lost the business because of because the founders had different values. So it's really really important that the founders have the same values. It's great if you're totally different, right? It's great if one's you know, the rambunctious, noisy type, and while the other person is quiet and you know, calculative. It's fine, but the values must align. So, for example, right? Um, um, I value doing good, right? In other words, right, I value the social agenda that we have, right? The agenda to make the world a better place. It actually means we cannot take venture capitalist money because our values is on social change. A VC's value is make more money, right? It's fine in the beginning, right? When you start, it's fine, but when things start going bad, right? Then you know, it's so funny. There's a storm outside and the wind is like woo right now. So so if you want to find a partner to do your business with, make sure your partner has the same life values as you do. Otherwise, don't get into business with your partner.
That is very insightful for especially everyone listening out there right now. So, just wanting to ask, because you did say you started your business during MCO. So, how did MCO influence Smolpotato, and how did you overcome all of these challenges you faced perhaps during MCO?
I think that wasn't such a big issue. You know why? Because Smolpotato was started for the MCO, right? So it wasn't a business that existed before, and suddenly we had to adapt to an MCO period. It was a business that was started during the MCO, during the movement controls, for the movement controls, for families that's affected by the movement controls. So really, we haven't had to adapt to it simply because it's designed and made for this period of time.
Such a unique thing to hear about a business, right? Okay, and since the MCO has ended, did you find any new challenges you faced, and how did you like overcome them perhaps?
Um, okay, so so we're close to hitting a wall. And what I mean by that is, so we have a certain skill set, right? And the two of us, you put together our skill sets, we were able to set up the platform. start Smolpotato, make it functional, and attract really amazing people into the platform. But we're hitting a wall in the sense that our abilities almost stop there. To get to the next level, right? For example, we need to build an app, right? We'll need to put in an optional e-commerce platform for our vendors. And to do all of that requires a lot of technical expertise that we don't have. So we'll need to, moving forward, do one of two things. Either start charging our vendors, which is a possibility, but we still don't feel that we're meeting our platform our responsibilities yet, right? Because we need a lot more people onto the platform before we feel comfortable with charging. And so we might need to look for investors moving forward to be able to invest on the technology portion of what we're trying to achieve at Smolpotato. So I think that's the next challenge that we have. And of course, Smolpotato is right now very focused in the Klang Valley, even though we have some vendors in Sabah, Sarawak, Penang, down in JB, Malacca, Negeri Sembilan. But it's still very few, right? Over in those other areas. So we'll be looking at expanding there as well. Yeah.
Wow, such an adaptable business, moving in and out of MCO seamlessly.
No choice lah.
So, yeah, just a very technical question, like, what is the business model of Smolpotato? Could you just give us a very insight to that?
Okay, very, very good question. At the end of the day, we have to charge, right? So we don't want to have advertising and the reason why we say no advertising is because advertising degrades the user experience on our end and using the platform. So we don't want that at all. So no advertising. So the question is, how do we do it? So it's probably either membership fees for members, probably lah. But a very minimal amount for them lah. And so for us, it's a volume thing. So the more neighbors we can get on our platform, the more we can encourage people to be micro entrepreneurs and to start selling to their neighbors. The more sustainable we will become in the future. So we're not sustainable yet, simply because our user numbers don't have that. Even though right now we have almost 400 vendors selling really amazing cakes and foodstuffs, and they're renting out drills and things like that to their neighbors. But the number is still relatively small. So we need to increase and grow that as we go along. Then we can become sustainable.
Wow, so many home baked goods, and it's
you gotta check them out. You got that for our audience, you search coconut cake right on Smolpotato, and you end up with, I think, the best tasting cake you can ever find. And I'm always very surprised. Tasha is not, but I am, at how passionate some of these home bakers and home cooks that we have. We have this cold brew guy, right? He's selling cold brew coffee. He stays almost in the same building with me, actually. And when I met him, he's talking about, okay, how do you make the best cold brew? How do you mix this properly? How do you drink it? And they're all just so passionate about what they do, which is in many cases lacking from a lot of our normal shops out there. But these home bakers, home cooks, our neighbors, right, have these passions.
Oh, wow, that is very very nice to hear. Like a business with clear motto, very good passion to stand behind it. So
very passionate.
Yes, that is very empowering. So Edmond, how do you plan to sustain Smolpotato in the long run?
Okay, so right now, it's funny. We were actually on BFM earlier this morning. They recorded it. It's coming out tomorrow at 10 a.m. And you see those bumper stickers, right? BFM stands for busy making money. What? No, BFM is busy finding money. But for us, it's actually busy flying money. So money is like escaping from us. So what we're doing right now is we're actually using our existing business to actually, in this case, is pew pew, and using the profits we have there to actually fund Smolpotato as we grow it. But ultimately, we'll have to start charging somehow, and that day will come, I think, when we feel comfortable uh, with the knowledge of knowing that there is enough business for our sellers on the platform and that they are doing well, that's when we start charging them a membership fee.
Are there any worries these vendors that you're having, right?
Yeah.
They might go solo, perhaps they might do their business online
They should.
without using your platform.
They should. They should do it. They should graduate from being a small potato to a big potato. So they should do it, right? They're not meant to stay here if they want to grow. They're I mean, they just like for example, we have this vendor in Happy Garden, OUG. She's a home baker with ambitions to start her own bakery, and we're like, go for it, do that. Start up your own bakery website, start your own e-commerce platform. You see, the difference between for us, right, is we started the business to make a difference, right? So that's the entire goal, So that's why we never question we never have to question, what if people do it without us, or what if people go around us? No, it doesn't matter, because then great, they've already graduated to become a big potato, and we are happy for them.
That is from a business owner, like that is very encouraging, because you want to see the bigger vision accomplished. And how do you think Smolpotato encourages entrepreneurship among these individual homemade owners, brands like this?
I think it's about community, right? It's about knowing that you're not alone, that there are other people who are here that will walk this journey with you. I think that's the biggest thing, right? When I started my first business, it was a training business back in 2009. It was very lonely because I didn't know anyone else who was a business owner. Or in the case of Smolpotato, a micro business owner. I just didn't, I mean, I wasn't surrounded by that. I didn't come from a family of entrepreneurs. My dad was a teacher all his life. My mom was a banker all her life. And nobody ran businesses in my family. So it's very lonely. And I think the biggest thing to help micro entrepreneurs get started, I think, is by having that community, reaching out to other people who've done it before you, and sitting down for a coffee and cake, having that conversation. How do I do it? And we all support each other with that.
Wow, that shows such a family orientation, which makes it truly Malaysian
It's
based,
true.
right?
And I think, because look, it's very hard to go through life alone, right? Now imagine if and in the past, right, that's not how it happened. When we all lived in kampungs, right, back in the kampung days, when someone was in trouble, everybody came to help, right? When someone lost a loved one, or someone is having trouble, everybody just came to help. If someone was sick, his paddy field needs to be harvested, the villagers, everyone came along and they helped to harvest the field. We've lost that as we went along, and we all started living in concrete jungles and high rises, because we no longer have that, because we don't bump into each other all the time. We don't have so much of a neighborly spirit anymore. And I think it's time to bring that back. I think it's time to be neighborly again.
Wow, that's very, yes, being a part of the concrete jungle myself, that is very empowering to hear.
Yeah.
And what is your vision for Smolpotato then for the future?
It's a really good question. Look, at the end of the day, we're still not adequately achieving what we have set out to do, and that is to build a robust neighbor-help-neighbor movement. And what that is, you see, unlike most businesses, we also have a social agenda. And in this case, right, requires social change, social engineering. It requires changing people's habits and what they do on a daily basis. So instead of ordering a food delivery, people's thoughts should be, I wonder what my neighbor is cooking, right? And it's that change of habit that we have absolutely not adequately achieved yet. So I think, if you ask us about our vision, it is to build a robust neighbor-help-neighbor mindset movement, and neighbors are helping each other with or without this, it doesn't matter. And that's our vision.
Okay, so bringing it to a full circle now, do you think young Malaysians should start their own business, and why do you think they should or should not?
I started my first business when I was 29. So I mean, you've heard of younger entrepreneurs, much younger entrepreneurs, but I was surprised at how dumb lah I was at 29. Because I made such rookie business mistakes. I mean, really basic stuff. I'll give you an example. I started a training company. Instead of focusing on one aspect of training, like let's say public speaking, right? Or let's say team building, and I focus on that one thing. I try to do everything. And that's such a rookie mistake, because when I try to do everything right, it means I'm not good at any of them, because I didn't have the mental capacity and the time to specialize and delve really deeply into a very specific niche and knowledge area. And because I didn't do that, I wasn't able to build a sustainable business, because I wouldn't have repeat customers. I could sell occasionally and people would buy from me occasionally, but I wouldn't be able to get enough repeat customers to be able to sustain the business. And so that's just such a rookie mistake that I made. But here's the thing, right? These mistakes that we make, you have to make them sometime. So if you start making them earlier, you become wiser faster. So if you want and here's the deal, right? Chances are it's very hard to succeed in your first business. Why? Because you have so much knowledge that's missing, absolutely missing. And you have to gain those knowledge. And that is a journey by itself. To gain that knowledge is a journey. And so the earlier you start your journey, the wiser you become, and the more experienced you are as an entrepreneur. And so that gives you a fighting chance to actually be successful a few years down the road. Yeah, that's why you should start. You should start sometime soon.
Wow, such a very detailed explanation, very empowering as well. So now it's the time for the Q&A session. So I'll
Sure.
be just asking you. So someone asked us, how do you plan to scale Smolpotato, scaling up?
Oh, um, the answer to that is, again, not to look at what we need to do to scale, but to look at it at the point of how do we help our vendors get more business, right? So it's not looking at our problems on scaling, it's about looking at their problems on selling. And so how do we better and do a better job in helping our neighbors do better business? And I think by having that mindset, we'll be able to find solutions, answers. Getting a BFM earlier this morning was actually one of those strategies. And we wanted to get on BFM because the demographic there would be able to afford and support their neighbors. For example, if you're gonna hand make a loaf of bread, look, you're not gonna compete with Gardenia, right? Gardenia is what, 3 ringgit something, whatever. Look, if you hand make, knead the flour yourself, bake it in your own oven, it's a lot more time than factory made. If you make it at home, it's also much higher quality ingredients. So when people sell homemade bread, it's what, 15 ringgit a loaf, at least, right? It's technically about 4 or 5 times more expensive, right? So by thinking that, okay, how do we support our home-based entrepreneurs, our handcrafted breads, and how do we help them sell all these things? Well, one of the answer is getting on a radio station that would allow us to reach out to an audience that is able to help to buy from people who bake at home. So yeah,
Wow.
so the summary is, don't think about our own problems. We focus on solving other people's problems, and along with that, it will solve our problem.
Oh, truly bringing the kampung spirit back to the concrete village town. That's very nice to hear. And someone did ask out as well. How did you first reach out to vendors? Like, how did you get these artisanal bakers, these
Right. Right.
home-based cooks?
It was very manual at first. Actually, Tasha did most of that work. Um, very manual. So what you do is you see somebody that's doing an amazing job on Instagram, right? And you just say hi. Hey, would you like to be on our platform? And in the beginning, it was a little bit harder. Not a whole lot, by the way, but a little bit harder because you go to a platform and hey, nothing there, lah. Right? How do you start, right? And that's where personal contact, personal relationships. You get to know them. You ask them, hey, what do you post? We'll help you to reach out to your neighbors. And once we had 100 vendors ish, it started getting easier and easier. And people scroll, and there's another ending scroll. Right? Then vendors have no problems in joining you. And along with choice and vendors, you'll get more people buying from them as well. And so we've had that a shift that started happening just a few weeks ago, by the way. Up until just a few weeks ago, we've had more sellers coming into our platform than buyers. And we know because they have to sign up to see the seller's phone numbers. So they have to sign up as guests to see what the seller's contact details. And so a few weeks ago, that shift started happening, right? And now more buyers are starting to register than sellers. And so it just happened. And so that's when we know things are starting to get better.
That has been very interesting as well as insightful. Wow. Not only was it insightful, it was very entertaining as well. So thank you so much, Edmond, and everybody. That was Edmond from Smolpotato sharing about his experience
Go check it
in
out.
Tauke Talks, which is brought to you by RYSE and supported by Citi Foundation. So yes, thank you so much. I wish
Happy to
like
be
we
here.
could have a very longer session because that was
No
how interesting
problem.
it was to hear your journey. And I hope that everyone felt inspired and motivated by you and makes you and it also makes the audience work hard to achieve their goals and in life, no matter what goals is it. So, if your goal is to start a small business or learn more about business building, RYSE is organizing a free online course, RYSE Online, as you can see the bit.ly, RYSE Online, a free beginners course about business building. You can also win up to 10,000 ringgit Malaysia seed funding. So, sign up to hear more at bit.ly/RYSE Online. So, and don't forget to sign up for our next Tauke Talk session. We'll be having one. It will be on 30th September, 8 p.m. So please, everyone, do sign up as well. The bit.ly link is down below, bit.ly/Tauke One's Handmade to learn more about entrepreneurship. Stay tuned. S- please join and subscribe, like, and follow us on our social media accounts so that you guys can constantly receive information about these next Tauke Talks and see you later as well, Edmund. So thank you so much. All the best in your future endeavors and business. I hope only the best to Smolpotato.
All the best,
And this,
guys.
yes, thank you for joining.
Cheers.
And
Good
this is
job.
Rice. Thank you. And this is Rice signing off. So bye, guys. Bye, everyone.
Bye.